in which he does things currently has him in legal trouble. He's standing trial and could go to jail for a long time, and they ask him for help even though they know that's how he rolls. So I don't know, but it works, and he's taken to the FBI, and they say that a super security programmer guy named Michael something was kidnapped that morning. Actually, the first thing that happens in the episode is this security guy Michael is driving down the street with taking his daughter to school, I think, and then he gets kidnapped by some guys, and they make him create what's called a CIP device, or a CIP module, that is capable of controlling air traffic control, controlling the water supply in America, controlling the power grid, a bunch of other crap. It's a device that can hack through the firewall of the US computer infrastructure and give control of that infrastructure to whoever has the CIP device. So it's very dangerous. The terrorists get the device to work, and the reason they called Jack in is because Tony Almeida, his old buddy, is the guy running this terrorist operation. And obviously we think that Tony is dead. We think he got killed in season 6. We watched him die. However, he didn't get a silent clock, and because he didn't get the silent clock, I guess there was some ambiguity there, and they revealed that he was revived but was never officially put on record as still being alive. So he spent the last 4 years, he hates the US government for all they took away from him, his wife, his life, everything. They ended up jacking from him, and excuse me. So the FBI says, we need your help with this. Jack isn't quite believing that Tony would do something like this. And it's kind of like a reboot. That's basically what's going on here. CTU is gone. CTU was, canceled basically because of all the mistakes they made. Hold on. And Jack Bauer's taking the fall for everything because of all the mistakes CTU made. So they replaced CTU with the FBI, and the characters in the FBI include Renee Walker, who's basically the FBI equivalent of Jack Bauer. She's not quite there yet, but she has a similar mindset. She plays that similar role, so it kind of works. You also have Janice Gold, who plays the Chloe O'Brien role. She's kind of unattractive and nervous and quirky and works behind a computer and is not a field agent. That's basically Chloe to a T. Janice is the Chloe 2.0. And you also have the lead man at this particular FBI place called Larry Moss. His name is Larry Moss, and I guess you could say he's a little like Bill Buchanan. I don't think he's there. He could end up becoming that, possibly. But Bill was a cool cat. I don't know if this guy's a cool cat. So FBI is basically the new CTU. They're rebooting it, which is cool because CTU was getting old. They were killing off some of the best characters. It was time to restart. So we have that. We learned that the president's son committed suicide shortly after the events of 24 Redemption, and it's been a couple months. So the president and most of the people close to the president are past it. They're moving on. But the first gentleman, the first husband, whatever you want to call it, the husband of the female president, is not over it. He suspects that it was not a suicide, it was a murder. He's hired a private investigator to look into it, and he hasn't given up. He has, he has one of his staff members keep everything off the record so we can go around and try and figure things out without anyone else knowing. And yeah, we have that plot line. We still have all this stuff in Africa going on, and America, basically the president has decided to push her forces into America, basically land a bunch of troops and men and units in Africa, in Sangala, to help the Africans out, beat back the rebels, stop the genocide. Obviously, if they step in with everything they have, they would be able to take care of business. is basically the general implication that it's in their hands to get this thing. So everything's going to tie together. I think we get in a general idea that everything's about to tie together. And that's all the major stuff that goes on in episode 1. It's a nice introduction. I think some things tie together a little too well, but at least I'm interested in everything. So episode 2, Tony Almeida gives a demonstration of the device by nearly crashing 2 planes on a landing strip by feeding them false information about timing and position. So we now know that the terrorists are capable of unspeakable acts with the CIP device, and they wait for their demands. Meanwhile, Jack Bauer and Renee Walker and the FBI, they're trying to get to the bottom of this because they now know how dangerous it is. And after some investigation, after the plane incident, Jack basically says, back when me and Tony were working together, we knew this guy who could get us things off the books that the CTU could not get us. So he says this is the guy that Tony probably went to when he needed the parts for the CIP device. So they go track him down. He luckily happens to be in the area, fortunately, but you know, it works. And meanwhile, Henry Taylor, again the president of the president's husband, goes to meet with Samantha Roth, his son's old girlfriend, and basically confronts her, gets in her face a little bit, implies that he thinks she's lying, and you know, she's saying, you know, of course she's denying it, but the private investigator uncovered the fact that 3 days after the alleged suicide of the son, she received a bank deposit in an offshore account of $400,000, and she says it's for her grandmother, but of course he doesn't believe that. So there's a bunch of suspicion, there's a lot of that crap going on. Meanwhile, the White House finally gets the terrorist demands. As it turns out, Tony and his terrorist group are working for the rebels in Africa, led by Colonel Dubaku, and their demands are: pull your troops out, do not get involved in this, or we will use the CIP device. Basically, that's what happens. So the president's faced with the dilemma: either you let millions of Americans get killed, or you let hundreds of thousands of the people in, you know, the African area get killed by the rebels. There's no right answer. They just have to hope that the CIP device can be recovered. You know, all the people around the president are saying we need to pull out. It's time to just fold, move on. You know, Kennedy survived the Bay of Pigs. You can survive this. And she's the only one really going, well, we gotta stick to this. We have to make a statement. We can't negotiate with terrorists. So she does basically say, we're gonna do this. One of the members of the staff, I thought this was cool. One of the members of the president's staff is the same guy who played the warden in Shawshank. There's actually a couple those guys in this season so far. We have Red Foreman, who played the guy at the Congress hearings with Jack Bauer. We have the guy who played Tim Taylor's brother in Home Improvement as one of the guys at the air traffic control base. And now we have the warden from Shawshank as one of the president's staff. So that's kind of cool. And anyway, Jack and Renee go to meet this guy. I can't remember his name. The guy who supposedly got the parts for Tony. But they get to him.